hope everyone had a very good lunch. I had some cupcakes. I'm feeling a little bit wired. Given this is a summit about the relationship between art, fashion, and technology, it seemed a little hypocritical of us not to actually have taken advantage of the opportunities offered by the latter, at least as far as speakers go. So I'm very excited to introduce our next keynote, which is coming to us live from Manchester. It's kind of like Miami, but different, you know, M's. William Adams, more commonly known as will.i.am, is a 7-time Grammy Award-winning rock star, eco-activist, philanthropist, entrepreneur, clothing designer, and most recently, player in the wearable wars, courtesy of his smart band, Pulse. And because he doesn't actually have enough to do with all of that, he's about to start a stint as a coach on the 4th season of the UK show The Voice. He is, in other words, pretty much the embodiment of the concept of cross-sector fertilization. Will, welcome.
Hey, guys.
Hi. How's Manchester?
I think they said it was below 2 degrees here today, so it's kind of chilly.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you're not with us. It's quite balmy here. Okay, you've got it on. You've got Pulse on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to show it to the audience and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I created this company after we had some success with Beats a couple of years back. So the device is a standalone unit that sits on your wrist like this. So it took us about 2.5 years to develop the operating system. So we created our own operating system called Anita. So this device doesn't need a phone for it to work. It allows you to do emails, SMS, make phone calls, text message, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. There's a big glare on this. I'm trying to get the rate.
That's good.
Right.
That's good.
So fitness, Instagram. So I don't need a phone. Let me get out of that.
Okay, now I got to ask you, why did you do it in the first place?
I created it because I saw this hole in culture where all the wearable conversations are being dictated by technology companies, and that to me it's amazing, but it worried me as far as the fashion element. So fashion folks, you know, as wearables move to other places that, you know, on your body, it's not going to be dictated by fashion folk, because fashion folks don't really understand technology, unless the fashion house goes out and, you know, hires coders and, you know, electrical engineers and stuff like that, which what I did with my company, I.am Plus. So I wanted to enter the tech space from a fashion point of view. And so the first thing that we designed was this cuff. And this cuff also comes with other accessories like this diamond jacket for it. So you can have this diamond jacket.
Nice one. Okay. And that's all diamonds?
Yeah, this is all diamonds and white gold. Carol Ross designed it for us. So now you have a better, even awesomer cuff. Right?
Okay, and what other versions of that do we have? Do you have platinum? Do you have rubies?
So right now we have a black diamond with rose gold. Then we have this white diamond with white gold. And Kara Ross, she's going to design a whole bunch of different styles for us. We partnered with her. I brought in Andre Leontali. Andre Leontali now is part of I.am Plus. And just growing this company from a fashion point of view and packing technology inside of it. And the main reason why we did it was to provide a tech stack for other fashion houses. So Zaha Hadid, the architect, she designed a Pulse for us as well. That you'll see that device next year. And we're working with a bunch of other fashion houses, providing our operating system and our tech stack so that fashion houses can go to market with wearables without the use of a phone. Right? Because what I see coming is big fashion houses are going to provide wearables that only talk to a phone, so you're going to box people in. So what happens when you go to the gym and you don't want to carry a phone? What happens when you're, on a bike or on a hike or out in the world, truly mobile, and you don't want to carry a phone? There's times where I don't want to have to carry the phone in the gym. I don't want to have to worry about having zippers in my pants when I'm doing jump ropes and stuff like that, and the phone pop out my freaking pants and stuff. It's messing up my outfit. Make sure that, when I'm truly mobile, I still have fly stuff on. That's functional and allows me to connect.
Okay, and how did you get from music through fashion to this place you're in now?
So I went to school. That's what I wanted to do straight out of high school, was to design. So that's what I went to school for. And then music is what took off first. So I didn't want to stop, the momentum that we were doing with the Black Eyed Peas. So I still, within the Black Eyed Peas, designed all my clothes and worked with, seamstress and folks like that. And I dabbled in trying to design a line, but our industry always seems to mess it up. A lot of times, musicians, they want to see it happen fast. They don't take the time the way these designers, that's all they do is design. So I don't want to disrespect, the process. So that's the reason why I eased back with trying to do my own clothing line and focused on technology and quietly built this platform, because I really honor and respect the designers that are out there doing things and taking the time and putting the time in it to get it right. Like my favorite clothes out of Australia right now are Songs for the Mute, and Rick Owens, of course, is what I always wear. So from the Black Eyed Peas, having a passion in fashion, and the first thing that I had success outside of music was, partnered up and being a partner in Beats. So that was a thing that validated my interest in technology and my perspective in bringing things to market outside of just songs and videos.
And from Beats, then you hooked up with Intel for a bit.
Yeah, so I started consulting at Intel. The reason how I got the Intel gig was the CMO at the time, Deborah, found out that I pitched a concept to Coca-Cola called EcoCycle. So I made a deck, and while I was on tour, and it was around taking Coca-Cola's byproducts, creating a base cloth, and then licensing that brand and base cloth to other companies to execute their sustainability efforts. And that brand is called EcoCycle. And we started off with Levi EcoCycle, Beats EcoCycle headphones, Adidas EcoCycle, New Era hat EcoCycle. Now we have MCM EcoCycle, and our partners are growing. So it's a brand that I came up with in 2008, pitched it to Coca-Cola, got the gig, solidified it in 2010. It took me about almost 2 years to solidify EcoCycle. So from there, they were, the CMO was really inspired that I came up with an idea, took it to the top executives at Coca-Cola, and it became a real thing. And now we have awesome partners and, making sustainable fabrics and materials out of post-consumer plastics, post-consumer aluminum. We have some awesome bags from Globetrotter that are aluminum, and awesome pieces from other brands as well that we partnered with on EcoCycle.
Now, what is it you think that allowed you to break through what I think most people would think of as barriers between industries? Why could you move into fashion, move into tech at a time when probably most people would have said, whoa, you're crazy, you're a musician, what are you doing?
Well, really, it's the idea, right? So if you, and leveraging the platform that I have and the reach. So I'm not the kind of guy that, if someone comes to me with an idea, a different brand or a company, and it's a cool idea, I'll probably most likely, consider it. But usually I'm the one that comes up with the ideas and pitching them to companies, and making meetings and taking the time to do a proper deck, a proper business plan. I'm an ideas guy. So whether the idea is a song, or the idea is EcoCycle, or the idea is the Pulse, or telling Jimmy Iovine early on in 2006 that we should be doing hardware. I come up with ideas. So I don't like to stay in a box, really, unless the box is a good idea.
And do you see a connecting threads between all your ideas? Is there anything that joins them? Is there any common underlying theme?
Yeah, so with EcoCycle and Pulse, the EcoCycle and Pulse, they will link in the future because now we have EcoCycle 3D printers. It's called the EcoCycle Cube. I partnered up with 3D Systems because I came up with an idea. How do I take EcoCycle and grow it beyond just a base cloth and other companies, doing a different SKU based in sustainable materials? So one day I was on an airplane and I was thinking, oh, what if EcoCycle was a 3D printer and we had a printer filament that printed in post-consumer plastics? And so then I pitched that concept to EcoCycle, and the result is we have an EcoCycle 3D printer. So now we'll be able to print different accessories for the Pulse. So that's really exciting that, two ideas that were separate in the past can now collaborate with each other. And the EcoCycle 3D printer, the Cube, is available now. We gift them to 6,000 FIRST teams across America. So FIRST is a robotics competition for the youth. So we gifted them EcoCycle Cube 3D printers so they could print their parts. Because that's part of the reason why I'm doing the Pulse and the company in the first place, is that I realize that kids in inner cities are not a part of this technological conversation. Technology is like the biggest on the planet. It's like a multi-trillion-dollar industry between hardware, software, telcos. It's a huge business, but for some reason, kids in the inner city aren't dreaming down that path. So I've been telling the kids in the ghetto that I'm from that they should take an interest in STEM, and I've been screaming about it so loud that I've invested in an after-school program, preparing them with a robotics program. Our kids are creating apps. They're traveling to China. This is the third year that they've been back and forth to China, learning Mandarin and Cantonese. They went from having 1.0s to 4.0s. And it's just this I believe it's this new world that's coming together where fashion and technology are married. Because in the future, you'll have a hoodie on like this, that the wire is just feeding the sound straight to your ears, and it's Bluetooth jackets and stuff. So we're creating that now.
What else are you creating?
So we're creating, instead of just thinking about the device. So this device is 3G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, all right here on the watch. So that being said, what other things should it talk to? Shouldn't it talk to hoodies that are sound and Bluetooth clothes? Like this is one of our pieces that talks to the device. So right now, I don't necessarily need to have headphones because the headphone is in my garment, and the garment is Bluetooth to my watch. So things like that we're doing I+.
There are headphones built into the hoodie?
Yeah, right here in this thing. So this wire here is Bluetooth to the back of this, and the headphones sit right here to this thing. So I put it like that. Boom, now I'm hearing sound, push, and that's how we rock it.
Okay. Now, last time we talked, you said something about shoes and something you're doing with shoes and technology.
Yeah, so we created this patent. We patented this technology that's an insole that would go in any shoe that allows the person to keep track of their steps and how much they weigh. Because we realize that when you are monitoring how much you weigh, you actually stay on your desired weight. As soon as you start, slipping on checking up on how much you weigh, you start gaining a little weight, get a little muffin top. So what we're trying to do is keep the muffin off the belly and allow people to keep track of their movements and their weight via our insole. So instead of just coming up with technology that we will make, we come up with components for other fashion houses. Right now, if you're out there and you're a designer, YKK and Riri, ooh, yes, I love those zippers, right? You have a choice between two, and every other ones are probably like lower quality. And that's probably it. Maybe you go and get some funky fresh buttons and stuff, or some snaps, right? As far as other components that allow you to connect, not this lapel to this lapel, but how do you connect this to this? You need new components. Who's making those components for designers to design for the future? Right now, as we speak, 2000 now, technology is so big, there is no components that you can easily then go get and put into a garment. There is no component maker for clothes when it comes to technology. So I.am Plus, we're working on those components, whether they're insoles or cords for hoodies or jackets, things like that.
Okay. Now, it seems to me that when you talk about the younger generation, that is not a generation that sees the same distinctions that we necessarily see between things like technology, fashion, and music. Do you feel like this is going to become increasingly a sort of fluid future where, the consumer, these young consumers, these kids are actually looking for exactly the kind of things you're talking about?
Okay, so let's look at like the best company in the world right now, and Apple. Right? Apple's an amazing company. Actually, the most successful store on the planet right now is the Apple Store. So this company makes about 4.5 products. They make a laptop that I'm on right now, and a tablet, and then they have like an iPhone, which is a tablet that's smaller with a SIM card in it. Then they have an iPod, which is an iPhone tablet that's smaller that you can't make phone calls on it. So they have and they have a desktop, which is the laptop without the screen that's bigger. So they have 4.5, 5 maybe products. But inside the Apple Store, they have a wall of a whole bunch of other things that talk to it. And soon you're going to probably see clothes that talk to their stuff, because that's where it's all going. Right? If you're 10 years old and you got out of school, you go to the Apple Store. If you're 12 years old, 15 years old, you're hanging out, getting Apple products on Apple. The world is an Apple. So right now, Gucci's, competing with Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton's competing with Fendi. Fendi's they're all competing with each other. Knock, knock. Here's a new competitor coming to compete with you guys, and that is technology. And I would rather have a leather jacket that does something than a leather jacket that just has an awesome Riri zipper. So here comes the new people, new folks. And there's new people that are going to compete with Apple. It's a whole new world, a whole new freaking playing field on what to do with things that you value. Right? I value the fashion that I purchase. Actually, people value their Birkin bag more than they do their iPhone they shove in it. So there comes a whole new perspective on what should the Birkin bag do now. If we care for it and we're willing to spend crazy amounts of money for a Birkin bag, and we value it more, that Birkin bag in the near future is going to be super duper freaking powerful. It will do something than just look fresh. So game on. Let's compete. Let's be disruptive. Let's be imaginative. Right? So maybe it's going to come from a musician. The fact is, I'm pretty sure at the conference, not a lot of people have been talking about this new competitive landscape. Right? It's a whole new world that's going to just coming up.
One of the, historically, luxury brands you talked about have not been so good at reaching out beyond their own borders. People have been very controlled, and control is really a catchword. Do you think it's going to be more and more important for, as you say, brands to start looking beyond themselves to work with other companies, be they tech companies, be they people making components for them, in order to actually be competitive in this brave new world?
Don't go to, if I was a fashion house, I would not go to a giant tech company to make components. Because I wouldn't do that. Because they will eat your lunch and then do exactly what you do better than you. But that's what tech companies, big tech companies do. They used to be the factory, and then the factory became the brand, right? HTC was the factory, and then they became a brand. So you got to be careful in how you go about doing it. And so that's the reason why, you know, and I'm not saying, I don't want to like, you know, say anything negative to companies. I just want to, you know, point out the dangers of, if you're going to be imaginative and come up with new things, you want to be careful that whoever you work with don't beat you to your own imagination by executing what you can't execute, and then learning from what you could execute, and then doing what you were doing without you, on top of the idea you had. So you want to be very careful on that. And that's why just being efficient and having tech folks in-house is important, right? Just be imaginative. If you were to build your company today, what would you do? What would you have in it? If you're not going to have electrical engineer and software developers, hardware developers in a fashion company as a part of the company, then you're not a part of tomorrow.
Okay, so last question. 3 recommendations for everyone in this room about what they have to do to be part of tomorrow.
Compete with people that you were never supposed to compete with. Right? Don't compete with who you competed with yesterday. Tomorrow is about aiming who you want to compete with and having the balls to compete with them. But more importantly, not just the balls, the skill and the folks that are capable of really competing. Right? Tomorrow is about the Lakers don't just compete with basketball players, but they're competing with tech folk too. Right? That's a bad metaphor, but I'm just saying. You want to you were not supposed to compete with.
Okay, that's one. Okay, 2 more.
Oh, 2 more. You want to compete with folks you're not supposed to compete with, 2. And compete with different people, 3. There's nothing more important than those 2. Everything else is, that's it. Change competition. I wish I could think of anything else that's more important, but that's the only thing that makes sense for me to. Kodak, let's take Kodak. Kodak should have competed not just with Fuji. They should have competed with, you know, apps. Therefore, if they did that, there wouldn't be an Instagram if Kodak was to change who they competed with. Now, kids don't know what the hell Kodak is. They just live on Instagram. That's Kodak's fault. They didn't change competition. Right? Every time you don't let your business be disrupted by those who deem you the person they're competing with. You don't want to be a gazelle. You want to be the lion.
Okay. Be the lion. We're with you. Thank you. Yep, more.
So I'm a little guy, right? Like I said before, I funded this company with my own money. It's a pretty powerful device. It's pretty powerful. If you want to know more information about it, go to puls.com. Sign up to be a part of our what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking. Go to pulse.com to sign up to be a part of our Culture Impactor program. We're getting first adopters to rock this, to be a part of it. And if you're a fashion house, if you want to collaborate, we can design it with you. We could license you our tech stack. This is the way to go. Trust me. How do I know? My gut. Look what we did with Beats. No one thought that Beats was going to be what Beats was when there was a Bose in the subject 4 years ago. We are at a new paradigm, a whole new crossroads. We need all the support we can get. The fashion world needs all the support they can get in a technological conversation. Let's start conversing. Thank you guys so much.
Yay. Thank you.